Hello everyone, and in this video we'll be learning basic of Figma, so let's get started. Alright, over here on my screen you can see the web version of Figma. Basically, Figma is used for prototyping, for app prototyping, which includes iPhone, Android, and you can even use it for web interfaces. You can use it for illustrations. You can use it for logo designing. You can use it for flat icons, and it has its own library. You can create your own library. So Figma is somewhat similar to Adobe XD and to Sketch, and it got all that features. You can create a prototype. You can show it to your client before your project goes in the development mode. So you can collaborate this with along with your team members, so they can work around, they can update it, and it updates lively as you go along with your project. So let's get started. Moving on to my desktop version of Figma. Over here you can see we got three options: new design file, new FigJam file, and import from Sketch. For timing, it is importing something from Sketch and the image file only. So if you click the second option, which is FigJam, it's just a whiteboard where you can collaborate, you can learn, or you can teach your team, or you can share your ideas in a business meeting. You have several templates over here where you can directly start from the scratch, like empathy map, concept map, UML diagrams, flowchart, to name some. So this is just to explain your team members that what are you up to and what we required in the projects. So moving back to the home screen and creating a new file, which is the default interface of Figma. Over here on your left you can see few menus. The limited one, but these are enough for designing a prototype. Over on your right is the property section. Over here you can see the layer, assets, and the page. You can create even one page, and each page contains a frame within. I'll explain you what frame is, which comes then as second, and followed by the assets. Right, so each and everything in Figma is layered, just like the other softwares, graphic designing softwares. So on your left you can see this is the pure default Figma menu, where you can create a file. We can edit, view, object, vector, text, arrange. You can install plugins, which I'll show you. There are some plugins. Most of them are free, and you can download them from the community. If you browse the community, you can come up with this page which shows the trending of some of the plugins over here. And these are FigJam plugins. Also, you can download FigJam plugins also, and over here you can see that the users who have already worked on some of the projects, and you can share and you can download their work. Some of them are plugins. So most of the plugins in the Figma are free. So moving back to the document over here. Alright, so the first menu is the move tool, which is selected by default when you fire up Figma interface, followed by the scale. So what is the difference between move and scale over here? It's simple. Let me get an example for you. I'll place an image. Let's do my image, and over here, over here I'm move tool by default. But if I move this, you can see that there is no constraint on, there is no proportion in the image. While if you select the scale and if you move along, then you can see the proportion within the movement and scaling. You can even flip it around and you can change it. So this is one of the difference. Let me get back to the move and get rid of this image. Moving on to the frame, which is a core for Figma. The frame stands for the canvas in Figma. In other software we have canvas, over here we frame, followed by the submenu, which is slice. Right, so let's create a frame. As soon as you click on the frame, you come up with an option for selecting which type of frame you want. You want to create for a phone, you want to create for a tablet, desktop, presentations, watches, and the list goes on, including the social media. So let me select iPhone SE over here. You can see this is the canvas for iPhone SE. I can change the name from here for the main view, right? And over here you can draw whatever you want for the prototype. On your right, if you click on it let us know that we are on the design version. We can switch to prototype, and over here we can the handlers change. If we have another view over here, we can connect between view and we can have a look at how it looks like on the mobile version or on the live versions, right? So moving back to the design version, you can select the frame again from here. If you want to change it, you can move on the portrait mode and the landscape mode. You can change the coordinates over here. You can increase the size. Even you can make the corner radius around by holding and moving them. You can see, right? And and you can select and unselect this clip content. So what is basically a clip content? Let me unselect it and draw a rectangle inside the view, right? So this is a rectangle. These dotted lines are the constraint from the top and from the left. So over here you can see it's from the left and from the top. So basically, if you move along the square on this side of the screen, if you switched over the canvas, the square will remain on the left side of the canvas or the frame. Why? Because it is constrained in such a way to the left and to the top that it remains the same. If the constraints are removed, the square can be in the middle or it can be on your right side. So that's what the constraint do. You can stick around an object within that frame. This is how the apps within the iOS and Android works. So every object has their own property and they remain the same within their territory. So whether you move the app in the landscape mode or in a portrait mode, so they behave the same. So over here, if you click on square and I remove it outside the boundary of the main view, you can see that it overlaps and still you can see the center of the square. So if you design something and it moves around outside the frame, this can be useful for some. But if you want everything to be inside the frame, and you don't want anything which is outside to the frame, just for your work to be in a tidy position, so you can click on the frame and you can select clip contents. Now if you move around, you can see that it remains the same. Even it's cut out. If I move it completely outside, it can be, because now the square is completely outside, it's not a part of the frame. So within the frame, it remains inside its boundaries. So my suggestion is that you always select clip content to avoid extra work. Auto layout, you can add auto layout. The plus sign includes auto layout. For example, if you click on something, if you drag a square or triangle, so that square, a triangle, circle, whatever it is, the shape will be your frame. So this can be selected. Layout grid, it can show you the layout grids over here. Layers, which are we are on layer 1, which is a pass through by default and 100% in opacity, right? And it's visible. So the fill color is white over here. You can change the fill color. It's 100% in opacity visible. You can even give this frame a stroke if you want. The stroke will be visible within the inside on the phone. You can change the color from here. You can give effects and you can export. So moving on to the slice part. If I want to export this, this square, right? Let me get to the export part. And if I export this, if I click preview, you can see preview. You can see the whole square will be exported. Only the square, not the frame. But for example, if I select a slice and I select this part of the frame, so if I go for the scroll, you can see that half of it is selected. The slice shows that the amount or the portion which you want to export in PNG or in JPEG. So it only export that part of it. So that's what slice do. So let me get back to the square along with its properties. Close the export, and let's move on with the shapes. These are the basic shapes which you already know from other graphic software, which are rectangle, line, arrow, ellipse, polygon, star, and place an image. So every object have their own property. So I'll not go each and every one. I'll go for the polygon one. They all are the same. Basically, if you click on polygon, you can hold shift, and for the proportion, you can create a triangle. You got these two handles over here with the radius 0, and you can move the radius around. You can create even the eclipse, or if you get rid of the radius, obviously it will convert to the square to the circle. And this one can create corners. So this how it works. For example, if let me get one more example from the eclipse. If I create a circle, exact circle, and here you can see one handle arc, and if I move it around, you can see that I can create a Batman shape over here. I can go for a pie, and you can even use it in your presentation as a diagram. It's a pie chart diagram. So this is how the shape tools work, right? Same goes for the star also, arrows, line, and they have their own property. Over here, the same property as stroke effects. You can include the effects where it goes drop shadow or inner shadow, layer blur. Let me keep left shadow over here. You can move the shadow, and you can change its color like gray. Okay, so you can see the shadow beneath the square. So that's the top shadow. You can even add another effect like background blur, and you can increase the amount of blur to 2 or 3. So this is how you can play around with the properties. So let me get rid of all of these, get back to the clean canvas, and move to the pen tool. Right? Under pen tool we have pencil and pen. So the pen tool works a bit different in Figma as compared to Illustrator and Photoshop and even in XD. So if you click on pen tool, and if I draw something and I close the line, close the shape, right? Still we are inside the pen tool as compared to the other software where the pen tool work is done and you can convert it into a shape or into a path. So over here, or selection, over here you need to click done, but before done you have several options over here. You can create a pen tool by selecting this, and then you can work on each and every nodes. You can modify it if you want as your desired shape, and then even you can change the color. You can change the color, it's over here, right? So let me get the right one. So here you can change the color. After that, if you are done with your pen tool process, you can click done and it will convert to a shape over here, right? So let me explain you these options over here. You can edit the object, it will get back to the editing like in the last time you were in the pen tool. Click done again. This will create the component which will go inside the assets panel that you can call it again and again. This you can use it as a mask, right? Now it's a mask. If you hover this over to another item, so it will be a mask. It's a see-through. So let's get back to the original one. If I go this wall and create a component, now it's a component. You can see the box around it, it's turned into purple. And if you go to the assets, well, you can see that it's a mask. I can create another one over here, so it's a component now. I've created a component out of the object. So as So in the future, if I don't want to repeat the process, if I have created an icon which I want to repeat again and again in other views, so I can create it in a component, I can drag and I can use it again. So let me get back to the object form. There you go. So moving on to the text tools, which is similar. You can write text and you can play upon it around with the properties. You can change the font from here. By default, it select Roboto font, which is one of my favorite fonts. And it have got the whole family over here. You can go for extra light, and even you can change the properties from here, just as the similar one where you have already observed in other software applications, in other graphic applications. Alright, so moving on to the move tool, this will move around your whole canvas. You can achieve this with holding a spacebar. Also, if you hold a spacebar, you can still move around. Right. The last option which you can see over here is the comment one. So, for example, give a feedbacks, ask a questions, or just leave a note of appreciations. Click anywhere in the file to leave a comment. For example, your team is working on a project or on an app or something like the website designing for a client, and you all are working together from time to time. So you want to update your website or your app. So if you have done some work and you want your other colleague to change the color, or he is working on the color coding, so you can leave him a note by just clicking on this and click over here, and you can add a comment like change the color. So next time when he hover over, he will be aware that okay, Yas asked me to change the color, so he can change around the color and he can delete this. You can also resolve this. It's gone now. The color is already changed. So it works like this. That's the reason I explained in the beginning that it's a collaboration app where you work along with your team. You create a team and you can call them upon and you can work on a single project. Right? So moving along to from the design part to the prototype part. If you click on prototype, let me get back. Wait a second. Let me create another view. Then another frame. It will be iPhone CE1. And this is the second frame. And to just explain you what prototype does, a rectangle button over here, something like that. A text inside it. Make it a size 24 is too small. Make it 44, 48. In the center, make it a single is fine. Right, so just consider this a person. This as a button, just for learning basic. And this is the frame 2. The second one means the second frame which will come on your phone after clicking this. So if we move on to the prototype one, we create a button over here also. This button, hold Alt or Option on Mac and click copy of this, Alt again and make this apply. Right. So this is window 1, this is frame 1, this is frame 2, and now we will move to the prototype 1. Over here you can see that the preview will be inside the iPhone SE, which we already selected the frame, and create connections and running your prototype. So let me hover over. You can see that on each image you got this connection button, even on the frame you got this connection button, but I want to connect this my button to this frame, right? So when you click on this small property open, that on tap means I will tap on this button and it will navigate to the second window. It will navigate to iPhone SE, which is this one, right? And this will animate instant or a smart animate. In a smart animate, I can go for ease in, ease out. This will be a smooth transition within 300 milliseconds. So let me create another connection back to this frame, right? So over here you can even move the flow of the frame. Like flow means this will be the first one when the app is fired up, and if you move the flow, then this will be the first one when the app is fired up. So let me get back to the first frame, and now if I click play, just wait a while. Here you can see that inside the iPhone SE you can see the prototype of your app. So if you click, if we get back to the second screen and we click again, get back to the previous screen. So here you can check that how your app will look on your phone or any other devices, right? So this was the prototype. Even you can go for the inspect one also. It will show you. You can add the CSS code, the main CSS code over here, and even the background you can change from it, which is still fine. So Figma is basically a good software, a good app, a good free option to work around. So just get into it, play around it. It's easy to understand. And if I miss something, just drop me a comment so I can cover it up in my next video. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, like it, and subscribe to my channel. I have just launched another gaming channel. If some of you are interested in my gaming channel, you can subscribe. The link will be in the description. Right? Bye bye for now.